We're about to go live. And hello and welcome to everybody who is with us on YouTube, or hopefully will be with us on YouTube very shortly. So what I'm going to do is make sure that you're looking at my slides, or you will be any second now. Get my slides up and then we are good to go for everybody, because we also have a chat room full of people with us on Adobe Connect. So let me get this going and see if that works. Right, am I getting the thumbs up from Mike? At the moment, we've got a black screen, but this is because YouTube runs 30 seconds behind. So every video has 30 seconds at the beginning of me waffling along nicely until the picture comes through, which I'm being told it is now. So it's like a little time machine. Right, okay. Well, hello and welcome officially. And tonight we are looking at something quite exciting, Office 2016 for Mac. And that's from somebody who hasn't used Office on a Mac in anger for quite some time because I didn't like it, but the new version's awesome. So just before we get going, for those of you who don't know, I'm Elaine Giles and I'm a trainer. I train IT related software applications and also business services. I've been doing that for quite some time. It wasn't what I originally set out to do in life, which was to be a lawyer. But I papered over that very quickly. And that's what I've been doing for over 20 years and I absolutely love it. So tonight, Office. And where we are at the moment is here. This is Office for Mac 2011. That is still the official current version at the moment. And the reason that I'm mentioning that is I've been chatting with people beforehand, and this seems to be the version that most people are currently using. Or, as I like to call it, tolerating, because it's not pretty. It's also nonsensical as well. There are two versions of it. There is the home and student version and there is the home and business version. The home and student version does not include Outlook. The business version does, but that is exorbitantly expensive. So Microsoft are getting rid of all of this confusion and making things much simpler. There will be Office 2016 for Mac. We've been waiting a while. It's been over 5 years since 2011 was released. What we're looking at today is the preview version. The real version, the final release, will be coming in Q3 or Q4 of this year. And we know that for a fact. We're not guessing. We know it for a fact because the new improved and open Microsoft announced that late last year. So we've got this preview, and this is a completely new version. It's a ground-up rebuild of all the Office apps for Mac. Now, I've been talking to people, and I see a lot of people being very confused about, they understand that there's Office 2011 for Mac. They even understand there's going to be Office 2016 for Mac. But then there's this thing called Office 365. And what's that? Is that the Windows version? How does that fit in with the rest of it? So let me take a slight detour here and just explain how it fits in with it. It's incredibly important because it's the best cost-effective way of getting Office. Office 365 is a subscription service. It is not a specific version of Office. It's not related to Windows. It's not related to just the Mac. It's a subscription service. Now, it's been available for quite some time, but initially it was only available for businesses. Now it's available for all users. Now, the home version is only available for non-commercial use. So if you're running a business with it, you shouldn't really use the home version for doing that. There are Office 365 solutions for business, and there's very little difference between them, except for things like unified billing, and the pricing is slightly different. The business version of 365, you also get enterprise level versions of things like Link for collaboration. So those are the differences, but Office 365 is a service. So you pay this either monthly or yearly, and what you get is versions of Office available during your subscription for both Windows and the Mac. That way you are always up to date. You don't have to think, I only bought it last week and now there's a new version out. You actually have the latest version all the time should you wish to install that. Another huge benefit is that a 365 home subscription allows you to install it on a PC, a Mac and tablets 5 times. You can have 5 installs, but you don't pay 5 times. So that's why it's very cost effective. those two benefits alone would make me go for that. And I did go for the subscription. I did have a boxed product, but I thought it was worth my while, despite even owning the boxed product, to buy a subscription. And that way I had access to the Windows version as well. Now, how the whole thing works is it relies on you having a Microsoft ID. Now, you could actually have a Microsoft ID and not even know it, because over the years, and I'm going back now, more than I care to remember, at least 20, they have had IDs. There was a Windows ID, a Windows Live ID, a Hotmail ID, there were SkyDrive IDs, Office IDs, Windows Phone ID, an Xbox Live ID, Microsoft Passport, and there were even various partner IDs. Luckily, unlike Apple, who don't let you merge anything at all, Microsoft merged the lot, and it's now known as a Microsoft ID. Luckily for me, I set it up with my preferred email address way back in the day, and I didn't have to do anything in terms of changing that email address. But if you set it up a long time ago and you think, now that's not my email address, I did go through the process for people of unifying it and changing the email addresses, and it worked perfectly. So this single unified Microsoft account ID does work, and it does work well, and it's what drives your subscription. Now, if you're a Windows user or you use a virtual machine on the Mac, you get exactly the same version of Office for Windows as Windows users get. You can install that into a VM, or you can install it on a PC if you want. And at the moment, that would be Office 2013 for Windows. But when 2016 for Windows comes out, you will get that within your 365 subscription as well. Why that's important for people using a Mac is that there is no version of Access or Publisher for the Mac. So if you're on the Mac and you're installing Office, currently you would be installing the latest version, which is 2011. And you would be able to install Excel, Outlook, Word and PowerPoint and OneNote, but not Access and Publisher. So what I tend to do for teachers who are using a Mac and they need access to Publisher is get them a VM and install Publisher through their 365 subscription. It costs no more at all. But even better than the Windows version and the Mac version of Office, you also get Office for iPad, which is a relatively new release. It was released in 2014. And they are not cut-down versions of the desktop applications. They were built from the bottom up and designed exclusively for touch devices. And the version for tablets, which is not limited to iPad, it's available on Android. It's also available on Surface. And the applications that you have available there are your OneDrive, your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and Outlook. Now, I'm saying that these are included with a 365 subscription, but you may be thinking, just a minute, you can download these for free. You can indeed, but then they're limited. You won't be able to access all of the features of each application without that subscription. So you could, for example, connect to a OneDrive account and you could load files in, but you would then be limited in what you could actually do with them, in terms of editing them or printing them or things like that. So your Office 365 subscription, even if you think, I only want the Mac version or I only want the Windows version, really the subscription is to belt and braces you on any device you own now or any device that you might buy within your subscription period. So let's have a look at what it includes. The desktop versions, currently 2013 for Windows and 2011 for Mac. But this year, 2016 for Windows and 2016 for Mac. And you will have to pay no more. If you pay monthly, you'll be paying approximately $6.99 a month. And you'll carry on paying that. You won't have to pay any more. And if you pay annually, then you pay your subscription and you don't pay any more for the new versions. Then it includes the mobile versions for iOS, Android, Windows Phone and Surface. But it also includes web-based versions, which are known as Office Online, which is really useful. You access those with your Microsoft ID, so all of the data that you have stored within the Microsoft Cloud, available from your desktop or from your mobile device, is also available from any web browser. So you can actually open up a version of Word or Excel or PowerPoint in a browser and edit that file. Print it, email it. It's virtually the same. Obviously, there are some features missing. You won't be doing advanced pivot tables, but it won't destroy your files. You can do basic things with your files in that Office Online version. Now, there's also OneNote, and traditionally this hasn't been considered to be part of the Office suite. But I'll admit a real fondness for OneNote. It was the last application Bill Gates influenced as a programmer. And whatever you think of him as a businessman, he was a great programmer. It actually launched in 2003, so it's a long time ago. And it was well ahead of its time as a concept. And his frustration with Word was trying to take notes in it. And that's why he sat down and he designed OneNote. In design, it hasn't changed much in all those years. And I think it's an awesome app. Now, you can access that on your mobile devices in a browser, through Windows, and in the last 12 months, there is a dedicated Mac version. So it's holistic. It's across every platform that you are, it is. And it's a little bit like Evernote. Now, you may think if you've got Evernote, why do you need another note taker? I use both. The difference is, to me, it's very visual. You can draw in OneNote with a stylus. You can highlight in OneNote, and it's very free form. So if you are interested in OneNote, you want more information about OneNote, take a listen to a couple of recent episodes of the Mac Bites podcast, where we discussed it at quite some length, and came to the conclusion it's a really good application. Now, that is completely free, so you don't need any kind of subscription in terms of paying for it to make that work, but you will need a Microsoft ID, because to synchronize across all those devices, it needs some way of knowing who you are, and that's how it works. Now, we've talked a lot about the account that holds everything together and synchronizing it. So let's have a look how it actually does that and introduce OneDrive. Now, you may look at that and think, I've seen that before, but it wasn't called OneDrive. No, it wasn't. It was called SkyDrive. And unfortunately, Rupert Murdoch didn't like the fact it was called SkyDrive, too close to Be Sky B. So they had to rename it, and it's now called OneDrive. The simplest way to describe it is, if you know what Dropbox does, then this is Microsoft's answer to Dropbox. It's cloud storage for documents, and it's a synchronization service. So it does two things. And it's actually very impressive. And that's coming from somebody who looked at it a few years back and then looked at Dropbox and thought, why are you bothering? Microsoft, why are you bothering? Go home, try again. The thing now is, they've made it a requirement, really. They really have. Now, without it, you'd miss it. If you've tried it before and you were less than impressed, then I think it is worth giving it another go. It's very fast, it's very reliable, and it really integrates with Office 365. It's also going to integrate completely with the new versions of Office, 2016 for Windows and 2016 for Mac. Now, anybody can get a free account. So if you don't have an account, and remember, you may well have, because you don't create a OneDrive account, you create a Microsoft account. And as we've said, that was all sorts of other accounts. You could well have one. If you have, you will have 15 gig of storage. But if you signed up during a promotion, or you install it on your iOS device and you get a little message that says, would you like to back up your photos? And if you do, we'll give you another 3 gig, then you may well have more storage than that. And if you'd like to buy more storage than that, you can do that too. You can buy it in smaller chunks, so 100 gig for $199 a month, or 200 gig for $399 a month. You can also get, so if you're looking at the OneDrive site, it says 1 terabyte, and then it'll say unlimited, $6.99 a month. Now, that's a bit of a misnomer, to be honest, because what that actually is an Office 365 subscription. They're selling it as space on OneDrive, but on the OneDrive site, it says, oh, and by the way, there's a free version of Office with that. There's a free subscription to Office 365. So I actually prefer to look at it the other way around and say, if I've got an Office 365 subscription, I've got quite a lot of OneDrive space. And this is how much OneDrive space. Today, if you were to buy a subscription and activate it, you would be given instantly 1 terabyte of storage. That's a lot of cloud storage. But they are moving on shortly to unlimited cloud storage. And how that's working is it will be rolled out for everybody in the next few months. But if you desperately need more than 1 terabyte, right now, if you contact them, they will up your storage. Now, what I did was, as soon as it was announced, there was a list where you put your email address and said, please pick me first. Give me unlimited first. And I did. And I got unlimited storage within a week. And the good news with that is that the way the subscription works, I've said 5 installs, but it's more important than that. It's 5 users. So if you have your wife or your husband and your child, then if you attach them to your subscription, they also get whatever storage you do. So initially 1 terabyte each, and then moving on to unlimited. So I had Mike on my account, and because I had unlimited storage in OneDrive, so did Mike. And how it happens is they give you 10 terabytes and then give you another 10 terabytes as you reach that limit. So that's the space in the cloud for you to put your documents. And up till today, how that was accessed from a Mac was with this hideous application called the Microsoft Document Connection. It wasn't good. You installed it and it really held together. I would describe it as this. You have, let's say, Word, Excel or PowerPoint on your desktop, and you have OneDrive. And there is no direct way from within Word, Excel or PowerPoint to say, go and get me that file off OneDrive. You would have to go through hoops to do that. And that's what this application was supposed to do. But it was a bit like the gaffer tape on 2 dodgy ends of a hose pipe. It wasn't pretty. It worked just about, but it wasn't pretty. And I must admit, I had no confidence in it at all. But now the new version that you get doesn't need that at all. So that's long gone. What we now have is the concept of services. So I'm explaining this up front today because the subsequent sessions that we're actually going to look at Word, Excel and PowerPoint, I don't need to explain it every time. Don't want to do that 3 times. We want to do that once and then spend time looking at the features. So everything that you set up here, I did it through Word, but it doesn't matter. Everything you set up here will apply to all of the applications within the suite. You connect to a cloud service, and that's OneDrive, OneDrive for Business, or SharePoint. And once you've said, okay, I want to connect to OneDrive, and here's my username and password, what you see in your file dialog is places or services, and they're over there on the left-hand side of the screen. So I have a OneDrive personal account. I also have my OneDrive for Business account. That's my business name. And then I have SharePoint sites as well. And then all I need to do, that becomes on the left there, my top level of navigation. Everything from there drills down. So if you look across that dialog box, what you see in the middle column of archive and AirPrint test, those files are stored within my personal OneDrive. And then within my documents folder, you can see all the other files in there as well. So it looks exactly the same as it would look if it was browsing files on my Mac, which you can also do. So OneDrive and SharePoint are cloud services for document storage, both from Microsoft. But you're not limited to just those services. If you're familiar with the Office mobile apps, you'll know that Microsoft have recently opened up the range of cloud services accessible from those apps. Now, they might add support for these extra services, at least some of them, from within the desktop versions of Office 2016, both for Windows and Mac. They're not actually there yet, but because they're there in the iPad versions, it would make complete sense were they to add them. Now, you may question why Microsoft seemed to push, or certainly support, certain cloud services over others. And often the ones that seem to be overlooked or sidelined are the more popular services. Well, quick explanation of how these services work and you'll understand. Now, OneDrive itself, how that works. You can download and install a OneDrive app for OS X and for Windows if you need it. It isn't a prerequisite though, but you can do it. Now, why might you think twice about installing that OneDrive app? Who's got it installed? You put that in the chat and Mike will pass that along to me. Who's actually got that installed? How are you using it? Because what it's actually intending to do is synchronize. So it takes your files from the cloud and it synchronizes them locally. and vice versa. It takes your files locally and synchronises them to the cloud. Surely that's a good thing. Who's made the decision not to actually install it? Anybody saying that?
Graham hasn't, Charlie has.
Charlie has and Graham hasn't. Now,
No, Graham has.
Graham has, okay. So why did you make... No. So a lot of people aren't. Well, I have it installed on a machine, but it's not this one. And that's important because we're going to go into the demo shortly. And you need to remember, when you see the magic happening, I do not have the OneDrive app installed on this machine. And I'm going to explain to you why. It is great that it synchronizes. That's fantastic. Here's the problem. If I have 3 terabytes of local storage, so I have a 3 terabyte hard drive in my Mac or in my PC, and I have a certain amount of cloud storage, possibly 15 gig, maybe a terabyte, maybe unlimited. If I've got 15 gig, I'm not going to be worried about synchronizing that locally. That's fine. 15 gig, less than a pen drive, I'm not concerned. A terabyte, I'm probably not concerned about that. It'll take forever to download it, but I'm not worried about it. I've got enough space. But what if I've only got 1 terabyte locally? I might be okay with a 15 gig. I probably would be, and I wouldn't mind synchronizing it. But the 1 terabyte isn't going to synchronize to 1 terabyte if it's full. So I'm going to start struggling. So how much of 1 terabyte would I want to synchronize? And I'd say maybe only half that amount. And I'm certainly not going to be able to synchronize unlimited. But my situation's worse than that. I have a machine and it's got a really blinding fast SSD in it. It's just not very big. And there's no way I can synchronize unlimited. There's no way I can synchronize 1 terabyte. In fact, I struggle with the 15 gig. I'm not happy even synchronizing the 15 gig on there because it's amazing how quickly that amount of storage does fill up. That's why the app, the OneDrive app, lets you selectively sync data. So you'll see the options here in the middle. Synchronize all my files and folders on OneDrive, or choose the folders to sync. And I've gone on the one machine I have it installed on for choosing the folders to sync. There are problems with that though. What's the main problem with that? Who's doing that? Let's see, who's selectively synchronizing? Mike's selectively synchronizing. And have you ever found any problems with it, Mike? No, Mike's got no problems with it. Mike wouldn't have, would he? I would. I know I'd have problems with it. I'm sure other people would. The problem is, if you choose to synchronize only 2 or 3 folders, all your other data is in the cloud. That's absolutely fine. But how do you remember what's up there? You actually have to go and have a look. There's no indication locally. There's no proxy icons. Now on Windows there is. On Windows, you don't have to synchronize everything to know what's up there. But on the Mac, if you don't synchronize it, you don't know what's there. And that doesn't suit me at all. But remember, I haven't even got the OneDrive app installed. So how on earth am I going to work with OneDrive? Well, luckily, it's got complete integration with Office, irrespective of whether you install the application or not, and irrespective of whether you synchronize anything or not. Doesn't matter. Completely doesn't matter. And that's the real significance and importance of the integration. So let's have a look how it works in theory, and then we're going to see it in practice. Now, what I've got here is a document in OneDrive, and it's a Word document. And I have Word installed on my computer. From within Word, I point it to OneDrive, and it starts working on the file. So each Office 2016 application has a direct connection to OneDrive. Does not need anything installing. It's completely independent from that OneDrive app. It doesn't even need to be installed. Now, the point of that diagram is to show you, on the local device, irrespective of what that device is, Mac, PC, doesn't matter, I do not need a local copy of the file. I do not need to synchronize anything. I just need to go to Word, point it to OneDrive, and start editing the file. Box works exactly the same way. So Box is another storage system in the ilk of Dropbox, in the ilk of all of the others that are out there, like Copy and Spider Oak, all of those. Currently, you can only use Box on the iPad. You can't add Box as a service yet, but like I said, it probably will be added. And as you can see from that, it works exactly the same way. you go to Word, you open your file and you start editing it. You don't have to worry about a local copy. But contrast that with a service that you're probably familiar with, Dropbox. Dropbox works in a completely different way. There is a local copy of the file. That's the one in the middle. Without that local copy, there's no way for the application on the right, Word in this example, to see the file on a server to load it and allow you to edit it. Now, Dropbox also allows selective syncing, and in those circumstances, you don't have to have you have no access to edit the files if they're not synchronized locally. So again, example, 10 folders in Dropbox, only one folder synchronizing. The file I want is in that folder, great. Word can access it locally. So the information goes from Word to the local file, and then that is synchronized to Dropbox, and any changes made to the Dropbox version are synchronized back. So it's a double sync that's going on there. But if the file I wanted was in one of the other 9 folders, I've got no access at all, which is a complete contrast to OneDrive. So it's really important you understand just how important OneDrive is to this cloud working. So how much is all of that going to cost you? Well, you can buy this today. The retail prices are $79.99 for the 5 installs. But if there's only one of you and you only want it on one computer, on one tablet, then you can cut £20 off that and get that for $59.99. I checked the retail prices today at Amazon. They're slightly less, £67 for the home version for 5 and £51 for the single install. Now, if you buy that today, that doesn't by itself give you access to the preview. You don't actually need to pay today. So in a way, you could get up to, my best guess would be 4 to 6 months worth of free Office service by using the preview. Okay? Because the preview is available today and it's free. And all you need to be able to use it is a Microsoft account. That's your only prerequisite. Now, it includes 5 applications. Now, this is the version for the Mac. The version for Windows will be coming out shortly. In fact, if you're a technical user, you can apply already for access to the very early versions. But when it's released for Windows, it will be very similar to this. You have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and Outlook. Now, you may already be using OneNote from the App Store, and I certainly was. When you install this, that version will get overwritten, but there's no data loss. Your data's stored in OneDrive. The version of Outlook is also a new version because although at the moment the original old version of Outlook, the 2011 version, is available for people who have 2011 for Mac, there was a version that was available for trialling. It was a very early beta version, but it was only available exclusively to Office 365 subscribers. That is no longer the case. So that's available for download completely free of charge today. You will, of course, need hardware to install it on, and we're looking at the Mac version tonight. And these are the earliest machines. These are the minimum requirements for the hardware. They're not that arduous, to be honest. Needless to say, I have a 2006 Mac, but luckily it's not my primary one. But you can go back right to 2007, 2008, 2009. So you're looking at hardware that's at least 6 years old. That's not bad at all. Where it will get sticky is because I've certainly got kit of that age and it runs fantastic on Snow Leopard. But Office needs Yosemite. And I think the problem with those age of machines is that Yosemite itself won't run that well. So you will need Yosemite to make this work on a Mac. Other point to make, very important, and it's great news for tinkerers. And I know Gary's with us and Gary's an inveterate tinkerer. Both versions, both 2011 and 2016 for Mac, happily coexist on the same system. Which is what I think about first. And another thing I think about, how easy is it to get rid of it? And it couldn't be easier to get rid of it. Once you know, once you've got it installed, it's very simple to remove it. You just delete it. You just take it to the trash and delete it. So couldn't be easier. And I always think about that first, as I'm saying, because I'm always worried it'll overwrite something else and then the old version won't work. No, absolutely not. It's really easy to remove it. So how do you get it and what do you need? Well, there is a URL, which I will put up on an image later, and you download one single installation file. It's a large download at 2.66 gig, so how long that will take depends on your connection speed. Once you've got that, you double click that to install it, and that mounts an installer. That installer is going to need 5.6 gig of space on the hard drive that you choose to install it on, which isn't that bad either. I remember the days it took a lot more than that. And for me, it took 2 minutes to install it, which I was very impressed with. A huge difference to just a few versions ago when Office came on several CDs or DVDs and you were looking at hours to install it. Now, I'll have to caveat that my machine is a brand new 27-inch iMac with 32 gig of RAM. So it may possibly take longer the older the kit is, but for me it took 2 minutes. It was really, really fast. Even better, it didn't require a reboot. All these things usually require a reboot, but it didn't, so I was impressed with that as well. Right, so let's actually go and have a look at it as I've got it installed. So let's have a look. Right, first thing to look at is the old version, this is the old version of Word. And all I did was start Word, and this is what I was presented with, which is the document gallery. And it's a little busy, but then it does give me access to a lot of collateral. Templates, my templates, themes, all sorts of things. I can even search online for documents. So what I'm going to do is just choose, say, a newsletter there at random, really just so I've got something open in Word, the old version of Word. So it's thinking about it. It'll think about it for quite some time. Luckily, the new version's much faster. And when it's finished thinking about that, we can have a look at the interface. Oh, yeah, we go. Right, so there we go. There's Word. I loathe that interface. I don't know what it is. I just don't like it. Confused. It doesn't look like a Mac app. It doesn't look like the Windows version. It doesn't really look like anything, and I've no idea what that wood thing's doing behind it. So that's the current version that we've got at the moment. So just to give you an idea of the difference, I'm going to bring up this version, which is the new version. So let's get rid of that old one. This is what you'll see when you first run the new version. Now, it looks much simpler. It's actually giving you access to a whole lot more than the other one. And it's doing that with the tabs on the left-hand side here. Now, we'll have a look at those in a moment, but that's what it's pointing at. Now, to do exactly the same as I did with the other one, I need to look at the new option. And in there, I have 25 templates to choose from, which admittedly isn't a big deal. That's not too many templates to have a look at. But they will probably add more to it. It's a sort of random 25 that you may want to use. And I will just randomly choose one of those as well. So just clicking on that. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar. And you saw how much faster it was. Now, on there, that is much better. It does have the ribbon at the top. If you really, really don't like the ribbon, you can get rid of that. So you can click that button at the top there and it hides the ribbon away. You'll also notice when it does that, it doesn't shrink the entire window. It actually fits in the area that you had already selected. And I just think that interface is, one, much more Mac-like. It's also Retina ready, which is incredibly important on the Mac side of things with more Retina machines available. And quite importantly as well, it looks like the Windows version. So it's much easier for people to slip and slide between operating systems with that. So let's have a look at the other version by comparison again. There we go. Very, very different. And this is very sluggish as well, this old version. There we go. So top one is the new one. Bottom one is the old one. And I think it's a huge, huge improvement. So I'm going to get rid of this old version. That's probably slowing my system down, something chronic. Here, and we're going to have a look at the features tonight that are across the entire suite. So if I lose that document, and no, I don't want to save that, and I go up to File, I have two options. I have New Document or New from Template. New Document will always give you a blank document. So a completely blank document. It will give you an empty spreadsheet or a new presentation. What is more use is to go to New from Template. And although that takes you back to this dialog, and you may think, well, that's the new dialog, it's also the open dialog because it has these tabs on the left-hand side. Now, if you work on Windows, you may be familiar with something called the Backstage view. The Backstage view has not fully been implemented in this version yet. Now, either it will be, or more likely, they'll just build on this dialog box, because although it's a dialog box, you can take it full screen if you want to, and then it becomes more of a browser of what's available on your OneDrive. So I'll leave that full screen at the moment and then talk you through what we've got. If you did want a new blank document, then it's up to new, and there are your 20, and one of them is your blank document. That will be there on any install. You don't need your 365 subscription for any of this. This is all contained within the preview. It's all there for everybody. The recent files will show you all of the files that you've recently been working on, so you can quickly get back to those. If there's files that you would like to work on all the time, then you can actually pin documents, and I haven't got anything pinned. Pinning means pin it to the top of the list. Make sure that however many other documents I've used, that one's always at the top of the list. Now, I have a few spreadsheets that I would find that a real benefit with, so I don't have to go hunting for them. And we looked at recent, and the other one is open. Now, just to show you, we talked about this in the slide part of the presentation, which is services. So I have my OneDrive Personal up there. I have my OneDrive for Business, and I have SharePoint. And you can see I can add services too. So let's have a look at adding a service. This is the dialog box that we've seen. You can add OneDrive, you can add a OneDrive for Business and SharePoint. Now, I've got all of mine configured already. But if I had a secondary OneDrive account that was accessed through a different email address, I could add that too. So maybe if I've got 3 kids and I want access to their OneDrives, I could add those as well. If I'm working with different businesses and they give me space on their OneDrive for Business, I can add those as well. And I can add as many SharePoint sites as I want to. And once they're configured, you don't have to go back and re-authenticate yourself. You've configured them and they are there for use. So there are all the documents within my OneDrive account. They are all in the cloud. None of that is synchronized locally. None of it. And just to prove the point that that is indeed on the cloud, it's in OneDrive in the cloud. This is a pointing to OneDrive and it's live. And there are the folders. And you can see they are exactly the same. And in that browser, if you want to work in a browser with it, you can do. You get access to exactly the same files. So if I have a look at my training data down here, I've got some folders in there. My training data in here is down there. So bring that there, and there are the folders. So exactly the same there. If I move that back, you'll be able to see it. So one is a browser view of that data. The other is browsing exactly the same data, but from within Word. And that is the integration. That's exactly what you're looking at there. That is the integration that I explained with the slides. It's transparent. It's not relying on any other application or anything else other than Word, Excel or PowerPoint, so Office, being installed on your system. I do not have OneDrive installed on this machine, but I have access to all my data. Now, how it knows it's me, it's my little avatar at the top here, how it knows it's me, if I click on there, that's where I can sign out and somebody else could sign in, and then Word, Excel and PowerPoint would become their versions and it would be activated on their accounts. That's how it knows it's me. So that's controlled by the top part there, and that's it for the 4 things at the side here. So again, to open documents in here, I can go into here, choose the document I want and actually open that directly from there if I want to. Now, what I'm interested in is showing you some of the features that have been added to these versions, so the new features. And one of the new features that goes completely across all of the applications is collaborative working, just how much easier it is to be able to collaborate with people. So I'm going to make a new file. And I'm going to choose this brochure here. So all I've done is double click that template and it loads it up. And it's not perfect, not by a long way, but I'm going to make some changes to it. So I'll put in there Mike Bytes Learning. And I happen to know that Mike has got some graphics that we could replace these wonderful culinary images with for MacBytes. So first thing I need to do with this is to save the file. So as I Command and S or File Save, it has a think about it, and then it shows me this dialog box. Right, so I need to show you here what you've got, because this is deceptive in terms of you look at it and you think, well, that looks like I can only save to OneDrive Personal, OneDrive for Business, or SharePoint. You can in this part of the dialog box, but to simplify it, what Microsoft have actually done, and this is strutting its own stuff at the moment. I think it's waking drives up locally. What they've done is, this is the online services part of that dialog box, but there is a button down here on my Mac. And if you really want to save this locally, you click on there and the dialog box disappears, and then it comes back. Now it's thinking about it. There you go. It comes back. And now it's hidden all of those service options. And all you can see now are my local files. So it's picked the desktop, and I have one folder on there which has got my data in it for tonight. And there's the presentation we've been watching. And all of my locations over here are local. None of them are online now. So if I wanted to save this locally, I could just hit the save button there and we're good to go. But I want to share this with Mike. That's the whole point of this. So I am going to save it online. I'm going to go back to my online locations and I'm going to save it here. And for simplicity's sake, I'm going to try and go back to just the root of my OneDrive. And I have no files in the root of my OneDrive. If I scroll up there, you can see I've got lots of folders, but I've got no individual files. So I will just call that MacBytes Learning. That'll do. And it's saving it as a Word file, and hit save. It will save that within a couple of seconds. Now remember where that's put that. There is no local copy. It's in the cloud. It will be cached locally, but it isn't a copy that you would say, oh, that's my backup. It's not. It doesn't exist in that way. It's just cached locally. Now, I want to share it with Mike. And what I want Mike to do is to swap those images out for me. And that used to be quite tricky. Most of the time, you'd probably end up doing it from a browser because the browser is guaranteed to work. But now you have this button. Quite tiny, hidden away, top right corner. It's got a little head on it and a plus. And it says send a link. Let's get that back. What did you say? Send a link to this notebook, I think it says, which isn't quite right. It's not a notebook I want to send. It is, I actually want to invite people. So I'm going to do this so you can see that. It's the sharing options. Do you want to invite people to work on it? Do you want to copy the link? Or do you want to email it as an attachment? Right, the difference between those. Emailing as an attachment. It'll make a PDF, it'll crank up your email client, and it will put that PDF in the email client. Copying a link will share this file from OneDrive. That was why it was so important that I use OneDrive to save it. And inviting people will enable me to collaborate with them, and that's the one I want. I want to collaborate with Mike on this. So I'm about to invite people. Now, the only thing that I have done with this machine that you might need to do is I have already shared it with Mike. You know, you do a rehearsal and things go brilliantly. It prompted me to give Office access to my contacts, and I said yes. That was the only thing that I did do. So I put in Mike, and it comes up with 3 contacts I have called Mike. And my mic is the bottom mic. So there we go. Choose Mike from there. I can include a message. So what I really want Mike to do is to add the posters to this. Please add the posters to this file. And to do that, I'm going to have to enable him to edit it. So I can there and then share that with him. And what that's doing is it's going away in the background and it's having a good old think about it. And it's contacting Mike. And it will send him an email to let him know that. It will also put a copy, or at least a pointer, to this file in Mike's OneDrive. So that will be happening in the background as we speak. So what I'm doing here while we wait for Mike to tell me that's arrived is showing you that in my OneDrive, there is the file that I have just saved right now. All this is happening live, all without the aid of a safety net. Scary, isn't it? Right, so that's there. It's on my desktop and it's saved. Something else has happened, which I can barely see, so there's no way you will. So let me zoom in so you will. That button that used to be the save button has now got an extra little icon on it, which is 2 arrows. And what that's now saying is save the file or load in remote changes. So if Mike makes any changes to this, I will need to update that on my machine. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it tricky for Microsoft. I'm not going to close this file. So I've got this file open. I'm sure everybody's had the experience of trying to edit a file and being told it's locked for changes. No, we're not going to have any of that. I'm going to leave it there. Right, has the email come in, Mike? Let's have a look. Right, this that you're going to see next is Mike's machine. There is Mike's machine. And there is Mike's email. And that's the email that you would get. Okay, Elaine has shared a document with you. To view it, click the link below. I'm assuming the other thing that Mike could do is go into his recent and see it there, could you? Or are you actually going to click that link? What are you going to do? Right, he's going to go into his OneDrive. And it's updating at the bottom of the screen there. It was called Max Bytes Learning, and there it is, Mike, just under my... No, one down, that one there. So he's actually going to open exactly the same file that I have got. And I've got a question here. Can it email as a Word document? Yes, it can. So it's up to you. And is it doing things? There we go. Yes, you were right. This screen. Just control and F it and it'll make it the right size. Right, so that is exactly the same file that I'm working on my desktop. So do you want to go and change those images now? So Mike will change those images, and what we're hoping is, once he's changed the picture there, that I get some kind of notification that that file has been updated. Now, would it matter if I didn't? Well, I might have made changes to it. Now, that would be fine, actually. If I've made changes to page 2 of that document while Mike's working on page 1, that's not a problem at all. If we've both made changes to the same place, we'll get conflicts. So you're going to save that file now, Mike. So Mike's saving it there, and you can see Word is saving maxbyteslearning.docx and uploading to OneDrive. So it's showing you in this blue strip at the bottom, uploading to OneDrive. The next place we want to look is down here, next to that icon on my system. And I'm taking my hand away. I'm not touching that computer at all now. And what I'm doing is waiting for an update. So waiting for it to tell me that it's been updated. And that is in real time. So less than 5 seconds. And there it is. So I'm going to lose Mike's machine onto my other monitor. And I'm just going to go down there and click that updates available. And Word is refreshing the document. And what it's done is it's given me this dialog box that says this document was refreshed with updates made by other authors. Now, that's going to get annoying fast, but I've not elected to hide that message yet because I'm demonstrating this. So that's why I've left it alone. So now I've got Mike's changes. So if I wanted to make some changes to this document, and we had lots of fun attempting to do something very simple before, which was all I wanted to do was change the shading in that cell, because Mike Bytes doesn't use purple, it uses a very bright orange. So let's do that. So now I've got changes that I've made to the document in exactly the same table that Mike was working in. So I've just hit Command and S, this button up here, uploading to OneDrive at the bottom, and that took literally a fraction of a second. And if we bring Mike's machine back on and we look down here, we're hoping for that to say within 5 to 10 seconds, there are updates to this file available. Don't let me down now, Microsoft. There we go. So if you want to click that, Mike, and it should update and it should become orange, which would be alarmingly good. There we go. So once the update's been accepted, get the dialog box and you're done, and you can then carry on working. So we're both working on that document at exactly the same time. Neither of us needed OneDrive app installed, and neither of us needed to leave the application to do it, because everything that we needed was there within the new Office 2016. The whole thing is integrated. Right, now one thing that is important, and again it relates to all the applications within the Office suite, is the templates. So I'm going to close that file down and go to File New from Template. And one of the things I said was, they're nice templates, they're very nice templates, but there's only 25 of them. And if you're familiar with 2011 for Mac or 2013 for Windows, there's thousands of templates. They're all online and you can search them. That feature is not available yet. Microsoft are currently right in the middle of making changes to how the template repository online works. And that would be my best guess as to why it's not available in here at the moment. But that doesn't mean that you can't use some of the templates that you find online at Microsoft. You can. So let's have a look how you can actually do that. So I think I should probably use the release version of Chrome, shouldn't I? Just in case. And we don't need that. And what I'm doing is I'm going to show you how you can. So here's a browser, and I'm just going to search for that. Office templates. And if you look there, you can see these here are actually Office templates on Microsoft.com. So if I take away the results there, that should take us to templates at Microsoft. So it's having a little think about it. There we go. So this is a repository online. Not all of these templates, not by a long way, are available within the applications at the moment. They are only available online. Now, and there's not that many. There used to be more. They're in the process of adding them back, but the ones that are there are very nice. Just give you an idea of what you've got. You've probably seen the PowerPoint one. These two definitely have been around a while. Some of the others are newer. And there's lots and lots of Excel ones. I notice Excel ones are incredibly popular. So let's create one of the Excel ones. Let's have this online sales tracker one. Now, I am logged in. If you go to this site and you are not logged in, it will prompt you to log in. You need that account for this to work. You do not need a paid subscription. You just need the account for it to work. So you can see up here, I am actually logged in as me. So it should let me carry on without asking me to re-authenticate. So I want to see this template. I want to see if it will fit in with what I want. And yes, that looks rather nice. But if it was a theatre and it was ticket sales, then this one's quite nice. Or if it was tracking ideas, then that one's quite nice. But I'm happy with this one here. Now, if you've used this site before, you may well be thinking there used to be a download button, and there did. And you used to have to jump through hoops, and it took about 5 clicks, and eventually it downloaded a file with a random name. You had no idea what it was, that you had to manually open and manually put in the right place. All of that's gone as well. All you need to do is click Open in Excel Online. So I click on there, and it goes away, and it actually does that. And it's saying, you're almost there. When you click Continue, it will save this file to OneDrive. So I'm going to click Continue. And that's what it's doing right now. It's saving that to OneDrive. And it's helpfully called it Book 3. Now, I think where it will put that in my OneDrive is in my Documents folder. There is a Documents folder up there. And indeed, it's helpfully called, there we go, let's show you. It's in my OneDrive, Documents, Book 3, and there's the time today. So yes, it's called it Book 3. Not helpful. So what I'm going to do is move that over here. I'm going to rename it. I'm going to go up there. This is my online sales tracker. So I'll rename it. Oh, if only I've put one line, haven't I? I've got OneDrive on the brain. That's my problem. Right, online sales tracker. Oh, I need an S now as well. Oh, don't type live in a demo, woman. It never works. There we go. Online sales tracker. And it should have sorted that. It should have done that. Right. So let's have a look on here what it's done with it. I've still got Book 3 at the moment. What I'm going to do is refresh that. And Book 3's gone. And if I scroll down, there it is. I see it. Online sales tracker. So I now have that file within OneDrive. So let's get that out of the way. And close down this. Don't need that anymore. So I'm going to close it. New window, close that. And take that out of the way as well. Now, this time it was an Excel file. So I will run Excel. As you can see, I've got both versions of Excel installed, but it is the newer one that I need. So I'll run Excel. Because I've configured every service in Word, Excel knows about all my services as well. So within here, it's going to offer me the new tab, and I've also got recent, but I need to open a document that currently I've never had open before. So in here on my personal OneDrive, within my documents, was in documents, wasn't it? There we go. It should be the online sales tracker, and there it is. And just hit open. It'll have a think about it. Remember what it's doing? It's downloading a cached copy of that file to work on. Now it's saying it's locked for editing. That's probably because although I've closed the window, I didn't actually close the file. So I'm just going to open that as read only. And that's because I'm trying to log into it twice. It's saving me from myself, which is very kind of it. Okay, let's get that full screen. And you even get a message telling you it's a server workbook and it's read only, and if you want to modify it, you're going to need to save a copy. Or I could go back and actually log out of the document. But there is the file, and that is how you use the entire library of Office templates online, even though they're not actually accessible from this particular preview version. They will add that into preview 2 or 3, but it's not there at the moment, but it can be done, and that is how you do it. Right, okay, let me go back into here, it's thinking about it, and wrap up. So that was an overview of the current Office 2016 preview. If you want to download that, you can download it yourself today from that URL, so products.office.com/en-gb/Mac preview. Now, if you're not in Great Britain, then change the GB to your country code and you'll get the right version for your country code. When you get to that URL, this is what you will see. It's quite nice, but also quite busy. So just to help you out, it's over there. Get Office for Mac with Office 365, or even the download now option. And you're good to go. Click the link, you're on your way. You're downloading that 2.66 gig file. And then what next? Well, install it and prepare your questions, because coming up in the next 3 weeks, we have another 3 sessions. First of all, this time next week, we will be looking at Word 2016 for Mac. So you've got all of the background now, you know how to get hold of it, you know the features that are cross-application. What we'll be doing next week is concentrating solely on Word and the new features that they've added to that version. The following week, we'll be doing exactly the same with Excel 2016. And Mike, the Excel trainer, will be taking you through all of the new features for Mac. And they're quite extensive and very, very nice. Following week, we'll be wrapping up looking at PowerPoint, my favourite, because I do lots and lots of presentations. And there's some really nice stuff in there. You could possibly get away with not having Photoshop anymore. There's a sneak peek. There's lots of photo editing capabilities built straight within PowerPoint, and that is on the 9th of April. Now, how do you get to see those? Well, this webinar has been provided by MacBytes Learning, which is an extension of the MacBytes podcast. And MacBytes Learning provides a range of internet-based IT training services, including webinars like these and one-to-one coaching and consultancy. Well, we also have a MacBytes Learning community account, and it's completely free. And that is your key to attending these sessions. You need to sign up for a community account, and no, there is never any spam. And what you'll get is full and free access to all our live online sessions. You don't need to register for them or anything, and you get exclusive members-only content. Coming soon, we'll have more than that, but that's a sneak peek, and we haven't got that yet. So if you want to sign up for that account and come to those 3 sessions, you'll need to go to that URL, which is macbytes.co.uk/macbytes-learning-membership. If you can't remember that, but Mike will type it in, I promise. He's already done it. He's ahead of himself. Then you can get there just from macbytes-learning.co.uk as well. And just follow the links. And that's what's coming up in the next 3 weeks. Really, really looking forward to that, because this is the best version of Office I have seen on the Mac by some considerable distance. And the other thing is Microsoft are actually getting it at last. They're realising how important it is that we've all got cross-platform applications. Prior to that, the old regime, it was the Windows way or the highway. And I opted for the highway myself, I must admit. So I'm really glad that they're getting it together, because Apple seem to be going the other way when it comes to software. So I hope I will see you then. In the meanwhile, just to remind you, I've been Elaine Giles, and you can find me all over the internet as Elaine Giles. So if you've got any questions, hit me up on Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or any other of those options on there, and I will get back to you. So thank you for attending. We're now going to head off into Q&A, and I will be saying good night to all of the people on YouTube. So good night, and if you've got any questions, put them in the comments underneath the video, or contact me, and I will look forward to hearing from you. Until then, I will see you next time.